Hi, my name is Zelda. Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be painting a really cute picture called Butterfly Melody. And there's Butterfly. And this is just to show you how a picture builds up. We're going to start off with a background. We always put a background on first. And then we'll put on the branches. And you notice how everything builds up like it would in nature. That's the best way to paint it, the way it really is. We put on our branch, and then we're going to lay on the outline of the butterfly. Then you'll paint the butterfly. And lastly, you'll be doing things like decorating the butterfly, making it real cute. Butterflies are kind of pretty. And, of course, the signature, which we'll get to when we're finished. Okay, so let's start painting. I'm going to take a little green, a little yellow. And basically, we're going to be working the entire canvas this way. And we've got to make sure that none of the canvas actually shows through. You don't want to see white spots, because if you're seeing white spots, it's not going to look deep and rich and dark, which is what you want. Because it's sort of like deep in the forest or maybe a park, but a lot of trees, a lot of branches, a lot of naturals, stuff that just kind of like goes on forever. And you want to feel that depth. You want to get that color. And that's why I added the brown in, because I saw that the green and the yellow just wasn't doing it by itself. So we needed a little more. I noticed that the brush, this happens a lot. If you see hairs coming out of the brush, just pull them out. It's no big deal. Bristle brushes tend to do that, but they're great. So you sort of put up with it and you just pull out. When it comes out, you pull them out. You notice I have a 1-inch brush. That's because I'm lazy. I don't want to have to use a little brush, because then it's going to take a lot longer. A lot longer. So you notice that the stroke I'm doing, it's going to be either crosses or X's. You definitely want to get that texture. You don't want it to be like this, because that's going to look very dull. And it's kind of going to look like it's just raining or something. And you notice that the ferrule, that's the metal part of my brush, has no paint on it at all. It shouldn't. If your brush gets full of paint on the ferrule, you have no control of what you're doing. It's all over the place. You need control. You need to control what you're doing. You need to know what you're using, what paint's going to come off of your brush. You don't want it to just surprise you and, oh, wow, there's green, when you expected yellow. So you got to know. If you put a little too much yellow is one thing, but if you don't know what's coming off because you've got paint all over the place, then you're not in control. You don't want the painting to look controlled, but you want to be controlled. Any picture that you're working on, you want to start with the background. If it's a picture that has a sky on it, you're going to do the sky first. If it's a picture that has woods on it, you're doing the woods. You want to do the deepest, furthest away thing. And I'm holding the brush, by the way, sideways. So I'm using the thinner part of the brush. So instead of using a tiny, tiny little brush, which will take so long, I'm using a brush that has a tiny edge, but is bigger and will work a lot faster. Okay, we're going to need to mix the purple. So you're going to take the blue and the red and mix it together. You'll notice it gets kind of dark and it doesn't really look much like purple. But just to show you that it is a purple, we're going to take a little bit of it out right here and mix it with some white. And when you see it with the white, then you can see that it is purple, for real. I told the truth. It's not brown, it is purple. And we're going to work with the dark purple and with the light purple. So, yeah, it's too wet. Just wipe that off. Let's see. By the way, don't do that with your real clothes. If you want to do what I do, which makes it really nice and free and easy, wear clothes that you don't need anymore. You shouldn't wear good clothes anyway to paint. You should be wearing old clothes that you are not going to be wearing in the future except to paint. So if your clothes get full of paint, it doesn't really matter. But if you're wearing good clothes and you put on a smock and you're working heavy and it goes through, you're going to ruin your clothes. So better off with something a little bit older. I'm looking for the brush. That's what I want. This is a bristle brush. It's a round. And I like this because it's older and it's all messed up at the edge. That's a good thing. When you mess up your brushes, that's fine, as long as you don't leave them out to get hard. But when they get a little messy like that, they're used for different things than they were when you first got them. And that's fine. You should never throw a brush out. You can always use it for something. And you see the second color of the purple brings the life out into the flowers. Without that second color, they're dead flowers. They don't look like anything. They're just dead and, you know. This makes them alive. You may think to yourself, and I think it's a good idea, that the top part of the branch would be a little lighter than the bottom part. And I think that's absolutely true. I'm glad you thought of it. So we're going to make the top part of the branch a little bit lighter, and we're going to move down and make it a little bit darker. You want to capture, for a butterfly, movement. You want to capture life. You want to capture excitement. So I was thinking that maybe we want to make it into a heart. Now you'll notice that some of the outline of the butterfly is coming into the color here, right here, because it was still wet, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to just sort of blend it in so it works. It's kind of impressionistic. Impressionistic pictures are pictures that kind of look like what they are, but they're not made exactly and precisely. So what we're doing is doing a pretty realistic picture with a few little impressionistic parts to it, okay? Which I think work very well, or I wouldn't do them. Okay. But you do want the two sides, the two halves, to kind of match. Now, I think that's a little too thick, so I'll show you how to fix something up. When that happens, you just take a little cloth, put a little water on your brush, and wet it down very little. Take something to very gently wipe it with, and after you do that, blot it. And now we want to get some white spots on there, because they always have those pretty white spots. So let's see where we're going to put in some pretty white spots. Let's see, how about here? Now here I loaded my brush up with a lot of paint, by the way, because I want it to show, I want it to be very strong. So I'm using heavy duty, pretty thick paint. I usually don't use thick paint, but sometimes you want that. In order for white to show on black, you need to use a little bit more paint on it. I'm just going to, I messed it up on purpose, by the way, like that, because I wanted to not be a really, you know, I don't want it to be a good brush. I want it to be a messy, icky, disgusting brush, because that's what you need for this type of stuff. What we're working on, purple. Whoops, I almost took the orange. We want purple and some white. Just want to brighten up a couple of them. I just think it needs, oh, I like that. The blue, the purple here now is a little bit bluer. I'm hoping that you have as much fun as I do when I do this stuff. There's nothing like painting. It's the most fun you could have if you do it with total control. You wash your brushes, you clean your materials, and you do a nice, neat job on your picture, because that is what's going to look the best. So just have a blast and enjoy painting.